G'day and welcome to David Joshua Ford Live. This is episode 79, coming to you live from Lisbon. You were taking a look at the view outside there, and today I'm traveling with the OBSBOT, is OBSBOT camera, and so I thought I'd do a little live stream about that. So we're going to take a little look at some travel pictures as I put together a live stream on the fly here, and then just take a look at how I was wanting to travel and live stream, because I've been trying to keep a fairly lightweight footprint rather than taking a whole lot of stuff on family vacation. Previously I've even taken like the YOLO box, but I was just finding that it was like too much gear, and so I've really sort of broken it down to a little PTZ camera that I'm looking at you here with, and my laptop, and using OBS, which hopefully it holds up, because I did have a crash before we started, so not usually my method of choice using OBS, but I am using OBS on a laptop with a Tail Air running on the Wi-Fi from this Airbnb in sort of downtown, or like the tourist part of Lisbon. So let's get underway, and we can start by just taking a look at travel in Lisbon, because it's been a fun family vacation. Let's see if I can load my family pictures here. I have been traveling with my wife and 17-month-old baby girl. So I'll just bring them up here. And so, new car seat. Not the best shot of her, but this is on the way to the airport, or from the airport, I don't know. This is leaving JFK. Traveling with a young one, a lot of fun. She's done pretty well this time. We did Italy last year when she was 8 months or so, and that was a bit more tough. Her sleeping's better now, I think also just because she's a bit older. Down in the square down here, this is her being cool with the glasses and exploring Lisbon. And this is the window that I'm presenting from. She was playing up there, so it's sort of a view of what I'm working with here. And a few more family pictures. We're on a boat, had some nice patisseries, went to the Abbey, went around the streets. We got her name stitched into a bear, which we got the same thing in Italy, but I had lost that, so we had to get that redone when we were overseas. And a new backpack. This has been a really good hiking one. I just want to make sure she doesn't get too much, what do you call it, hip dysplasia or whatever, where it can sort of push out on the hips. So this has been a good backpack to get her up the hill. We went up to the castle at the top of the hill here, and then she got all tucked out, so we actually had to take her out of that because she was rocking around a bit too much. Went to the beach. Again, tuck it out, chasing the little one around in the car seat, and she loves to just get into the gravel and sand and everything. She just loves to get into. So that is a little look at the family pictures. Part of that, I figured I should just throw together a bit of a slideshow for you to see what I've been working on. But if you have any questions as we go along, drop them in the comments and I can answer them. Things to do with Companion, or how I'm running today's show, or just live stream generally. Maybe you have other questions, but also we can look at the PTZ camera that I'm shooting with here today and sort of how it's running. So I'll go into a couple of photographs of that first. Let me just see if I can open up these things. I'm doing a lot of things on a MacBook Air here, so I was hoping that it doesn't crash OBS, because it does put a lot of pressure on that. All right, so now let's take a look at the sort of travel setup that I have here with the OBSBOT. So what you're looking at here is this is what I'm running today. So basically I have my laptop, which is OBS, so it's running graphics and music, and it's doing the switching, and what else? Comments, all that kind of stuff is going through OBS. I've got a Sennheiser USB-C microphone, so just want to sort of clear audio. So that's the lav mic here. It goes straight in a USB-C into the computer, so you can judge the quality of the audio with that. And then I've got my usual headset piece here, which I've got in my ear here, and just a tiny little extension cable down here just to give it a bit more length. But it's just a normal 3.5mm connector. And then I've got my phone down here. I'm using my phone as a stream deck, basically. I've been able to set up like a vertical thing of the stream deck so that I don't have to have it in landscape. I can just sort of hold my phone like that. So it's been really handy because I've been able to basically rebuild my studio show, but doing a travel show on the road using my same profile, but just instead of the ATEM switcher, I'm putting those commands into the OBS scene switching. And then the main prize here is the OBSBOT, or I don't know if you call it OBSBOT. I mean, outside broadcast is probably where it's coming its name from, I'm guessing. But the OBSBOT Tail Air 4K PTZ camera, which has been a really neat little camera, and I'm going to do a couple more of that back on the studio when I get back there. But as you can see, I've got my favorite drink bottle, I think it's Awala. I don't know if I have my actual one down here. I love this brand because it's just so easy to sip out of, and they make a kid-size one. So I borrowed Colette's cup, and I've switched that upside down just to give me a little bit more elevation here as I'm talking to you, so it's less of a sort of webcam angle, and also to get it up higher so we could see out the window and get that view at the top of the show. So this is the kit that I'm traveling with, trying to keep things light, trying to keep things sort of vacation mode rather than lugging things around. I was very tempted to bring my drone, but I didn't even bring my drone. Just brought my laptop. I've got my R5C, so I'm traveling with my main camera. But in terms of live streaming, it's really just the microphone, the earpiece, and the Tail Air camera. And I could probably even use like wireless headphones instead of the earpiece to make it even lighter. I don't really like the look of the wireless headphones. And I think I need to get a new earpiece of this anyway, because I'm not sort of loving this particular earpiece. I think there's other ones I could get that would be better. But that's kind of the setup of the camera, looking out the window just to give a starting shot before we went live, just to make sure everything's up and running and good. And that's basically my setup that we have going on here. This is what it looks like from what I'm looking at here is my stream deck, so to say. So you can see I've got my usual 5 home pages here. So I'm working off the shot page today. And instead of that being along the top of the stream deck, I've rotated everything and I've moved the buttons around. So I still have I have like PTZ control for this camera here. I've got sort of 6 different presets for the Tail Air, and then I've got 5 different scenes of OBS, and then graphics and starting and stopping the stream. I was recording this stream and also streaming, and then it crashed. OBS crashed before this stream, so at the moment I'm not recording. I'm just streaming, and we're just going for it. But that's basically this is my view looking back. This is what I'm seeing, looking out the window, little camera. So you will notice with this Tail Air camera, it's not actually plugged into anything at all. It is going completely wireless and completely off battery. Same thing goes for my laptop and my phone. So there's enough battery to get me through a sort of half hour, probably an hour, but I'm just going to do like a shorter show today. You can probably hear the traffic noise going around. Probably should have shut the windows. That would have been good, but you're hearing the ambience of Lisbon. So that is the kind of setup there. And I think one thing to note that I might bring in the future, but like the exercise here that I wanted with this trip was just not lugging around a whole lot of gear. And so that's where I've just bought the camera and a laptop microphone earpiece. But a router could do really well because I am running Visca to control, like between the, if I control it from the phone here, it's actually going through this Airbnb's router. So I'm putting a lot of faith in the Airbnb's router. And, but I've done a speed test here and we've got about 90 megabits up and down. So it seems pretty good. So that's the other thing is like all of this is the camera feed that you're looking at me on is actually, I'm not sure exactly what that is. It's wireless from the camera through the router to the computer, and then the computer has an app, or OBSBOT has an app called OBSBOT Center, and that has got a virtual webcam mode, and so that is taking that wireless signal, turning it into a virtual webcam output, and then OBS is bringing that in and going in there. So I haven't actually done a full check for lip sync. Hopefully we're pretty good with that, but we shall see. That is sort of the, excuse me, that's what I've got going on with these, with this setup. If you are in the Q&A, drop me a, let me just update this. Good to have you guys here. Let me just see where my social comments are. Let Your Nerd Be Heard is joining from Arizona. Great to have you here on this stream. Yeah, it was a pretty impromptu stream. I didn't actually send out a mailer, didn't have much. I just sort of created a stream and sent it. So there's not many people here on the stream, as I can see at the moment. But just wanted to road test this and sort of work out the kinks in my setup. I'll go through, if you have any questions as we go along, please do drop them in the chat. It'd be great to hear from you. And what I'm running here with my phone is basically H2R, and then the comments are in a web page on the phone. So it means that as you say hi, so g'day William from Hong Kong. Great to have you here. I can see those come up here in the chat, and I can actually activate them, trigger them. So it makes a really nice little, remote control here for, and if I can show you that's what I'm looking at there for that. And then I'm not gonna get this right here, but and then I just swipe across, and then I'm back on the Stream Deck mode there. So that's how I'm controlling the show, and then doing the comments from there. Uwe Kraul says, awesome stream and insights. Thanks, greetings from Germany. Great to have you here. Thanks for saying hi. If you are in the comments, don't be shy. Jump in there, say hi, even just like where you're from, and what you'd love to learn about, or if there's something interesting that you see here, let me know, and it'd be great to hear from you. So let's jump over to my app. Let me go OBSBOT Center. Hopefully we don't. I'm going to show you. Let me jump back to my super source. All right. Sorry, I should have muted myself. Okay, so the OBSBOT has a couple of different ways that you can connect it. Probably the most common one you'll have is just like via the phone. So there's a phone app that you can connect to, but I quite like doing things on the computer because it's all sort of consolidated and much easier to get in there, and I like keyboards rather than flicking through screens. So there is also so there's the OBSBOT Start is the one that you'll probably use on the phone, but you can also use that on a Mac. And then there's OBSBOT, it's very awkward to say, OBSBOT Center, which is more of like a multi-camera control panel. I'm not sure if it's not really like it's not like a multicam switching thing, but it's controlling 4 cameras. But I think they have something coming soon in terms of the multicam switching. So if I click on the gear icon up here, you can see that I have Tail Air, and it has an IP address of 68182. And I could have another 3 cameras here if I wanted to have more cameras sort of connected. But this IP address here, 68182, is actually in Companion. If I go down to Visca, you'll see that is how I am controlling this camera. So this camera has a ton of like AI features and tracking and gestures. And I must say, for the way I work, I've turned them all off. Partly because if I'm talking with my hands like this, I think you go like that or something, and it starts recording, and it will go beep, and then I think you also go like, anyway, we'll do this in future streams, but you have different gestures, and suddenly it's put into tracking mode, and so you think you're framed in a certain way, and then it starts moving around, and so I sort of am using a more traditional approach of using the IP address to have presets, and that means that I can tie that to certain parts of the show. So you'll see here on my usual sort of run of show, so these colors down here, that's what I normally have back in the studio. But I sort of rebuilt that for today to have like the pre-show. So that's all of like the first look of like looking out the window, the music, muting the microphone, and then the show start. That's when camera swings around. So instead of using two cameras in the studio, I'm using like a top-down shot, and then I'm cutting across cameras. This is just using the one camera looking out the window and then swinging around to sort of reveal me here. And it just means that I can sort of start the stream, get things worked out, have a bit of, work out the kinks, make sure everything's streaming and connected and still good and all that before we actually go live and open up the microphone and put me on screen. Then I've usually got like 3 parts to the show, which will be either 3 topics or like 2 topics and Q&A. So today I've got 2 topics Q&A, and then a goodbye and a wrap, which just sort of starts the music, pulls back, and eventually like cuts the microphone when I'm ready to sort of stop the show and go off air. And then I have this stop all button, which is just like after I've shut everything down, it just kind of resets the camera, turns off the background music, stops another bunch of the other things. So I still have my usual chapters being recorded for YouTube because I'm using Companion to run this show. So at the center of this is still Companion, which is running graphics and music and triggering cameras and doing scene switching and all that kind of stuff. So it's still the same concept, it just needs to be revamped, and OBS is like amazing in one sense because there's just so many aspects to it and it's very customizable, but then I also find it kind of crashes. Like often when I try to quit it, it will crash, and or and I can't show you OBS because I've turned it off on this screen down here. So when within the screen capture, you can choose to turn off the OBS window. So I'm actually looking at this desktop that you're looking at. For me, there's like an OBS window showing what's in program. I don't know if I can swing around, and we'll see if I can get that in the laptop. I don't know if that's in frame there, but there's a little program window there, just so you can, just so I know what is going to air, particularly if I'm on full screen camera and then I'm talking about something on the computer, but then if I haven't switched across to show you the computer, like that kind of stuff can help. Let's go back to OBSBOT Center. So there's what I am enjoying about OBSBOT is that there are just a ton of there's so much functionality that's built into it. So you can run it on battery or mains or PoE even over Ethernet. There's Wi-Fi. You can go direct to camera, or you can sort of put the camera into a network. It's tiny, so it's very versatile. You can also do sort of audio mixing within this application here. I'm not doing that because I'm just using it as a camera today. Hotkeys, OSC control, general settings. I'll just shut this one down. This here is, I won't turn this off, but that is the webcam virtual camera that I was talking about. So a little bit, I think this will be fine. This video preview, once the camera is connected, it can receive the signal to the computer, to this application, and then you can take the video from that and create a virtual camera that will appear in OBS or Zoom or Skype. Does anyone use Skype? All those applications will see it as though you'd plugged in a USB webcam. and it's pretty clear and sharp. And I mean, what you're looking at is the latency. So, you know, if there's a little bit of lip sync, that could be from that. I'll have to watch this back and check it. I didn't have time to do an actual lip sync check because in OBS I could sort of delay the audio a fraction. But yeah, so this is the Wi-Fi network that we're connected to. You can see the amount of battery remaining here, so 74%. I've had this camera running for maybe 50 minutes. I think I turned it on about, like 20 minutes before the show. So you could probably get, at that rate, I'm guessing at least 2 hours, maybe 3 or 4, I'm not sure exactly. You can record internally to the SD card that's in there, take snapshots. There's all this AI human tracking that we have in here, and you can have normal tracking, upper body close-up, that kind of stuff. So it gives you sort of 3 different modes. I'll go into this in another time. And AI mode, animal tracking or group. Presets, in the app there's only 3 presets, but I actually don't know the total number of presets that you can have. I've programmed up to 6 at the moment, but I imagine you'd probably have 100 maybe. I'm not sure how many it goes up to. And then the gimbal control is like, you can, move this around like that, or you can zoom in or out, and then I can always just like reset my position there on my phone Stream Deck, going back to that. So that's kind of the console part of it. The image, you've got focus, autofocus, auto exposure. I'm mostly using sort of auto exposure here, so I think I've turned on, no, it's global. I think I wanted face. There we go, that'll brighten it up a bit. Face, I think, is interesting because it's, if you've got a lot of contrast in the background, like I think there's like windows that are sort of a bit hot out there, it can sort of do the exposure for the face. So that's quite nice. I like that kind of one. White balance, I don't think I've actually set that. And then the image, I'm not sure if that's here or if it's somewhere over there. There's so much in here. This needs a longer show to go on this. But I think in here, somewhere in here, oh, here it is, beauty. So retouch. I don't know if it's, oh, there we go. All right, so I can turn on the man retouching. I don't know if that's doing anything to my face right there. But there's a ton of like filters that you can use in this camera. So it's interesting that this camera can kind of just do that, and just sort of looking at where the market's going. I'm going to turn that one off. Again, we can come back to this in another show, but and I'll get to your questions in just a second. But so we've got HDR mode. Yeah, there we go. I actually haven't played with this yet. HDR versus non-HDR. At the moment, it's autofocus to face, exposure. I just went through that, didn't I? Yeah. And then under more is auto power on and off. Oop. Sorry, I hit the wrong button there. Let's go back to, bring this one back around. I hit the home button on that one. Let me just close that one down. So auto hour on and off, timed power, UVC mode. The one that I was interested in, because I've been chatting with them being like the OBSBOT support staff, and they've actually made a firmware update, which I don't think they've released yet, but I've really appreciated, which is they have a, not power on shooting, where is it? Plug unplug to power on and off. This setting here, if you turn this on, then the camera behaves where if you unplug the camera, then it will automatically power down. So it's a bit more like plugging in mains rather than running a battery. But what I've asked them to change is that it's not that you unplug the power, but that if the power is lost, then the camera shuts down. And they've sent me a firmware update, which is so far looking really good, where if I leave the camera plugged in, but then I have sorry, there's like a semi-naked man up there, so I'm like, corner of my eye, distracted. The camera, if it loses power, it will power down. And where that gets really useful is in a studio setup. So in this sort of studio mode, it means that I can have these cameras running on a PoE switch. So we've got like a powered switch running Ethernet and power into an adapter, which is then USB-C into the camera. And it means that when I shut down the studio and the switch goes off and I lose the power, that the camera after like 10 seconds will go, okay, there's no more power, and then it will shut down the camera safely. And then when the studio power's on again, it gets the power back, it turns back on. So that's been really neat because it means that like these cameras can stay installed in the studio and I can just sort of shut everything down with one switch rather than having to go around and power on everything. So that has been really neat. So, all right, let me jump over to, come back on the screen here, and we can have a few more questions. Where are we? William says, I know OBSBOT can record to micro SD card. The quality can be used for post-editing. Yes, it can. So there's a few limitations there, which is, first of all, it is a 4K camera, but it doesn't have optical zoom. So if you zoom in, then you're gonna have some loss of quality. So I am wide, this is fully wide here at the moment, and then if I come in here, I think that's a 1.5 zoom, I think, digital zoom. And then if I come into this shot, again, this is digitally punching in on that original quality. So just bear that in mind in terms of where you place the camera and the angle of the lens, because it's quite a wide lens. It's sort of almost webcam-ish. I would love like everything that they've got in this camera, but with an optical zoom of, I don't know, 5 to 10 times. You know, I don't know exactly what the limitations are in terms of producing that, but having optical zoom in there would be amazing. So 4K, yes, highest quality is going to be on the wide angle. And then the other limitation is if you can record 4K to the SD card, but you can only simultaneously stream in 1080. And I think also in reverse, you can maybe stream 1080, but only record in 1080, something like that. Also, if you turn on the UVC mode in terms of the USB-C webcam out, it actually disables everything. So you can't do recording and you can't do NDI and you can't do the video streaming, all that kind of stuff. So it just becomes a webcam basically once you plug in, or once you switch on the UVC mode and sort of go a direct line. And that was the other way I was thinking about running this camera here today, was rather than connecting this camera to the Airbnb's Wi-Fi network, was potentially just getting a USB-C cable and going directly from the camera to the computer to bring it into OBS, the video signal. But then I still need kind of VSCA control. So if I look at like how I would network those two without a router. But that is, yeah. What else we got? The OBS instability is typically due to one or more of the plugins that you have installed. Yeah, the only plugin that I have is the WebSockets one, which could be the one that's kind of killing it. But again, it's like also like I need WebSockets to talk from OBS to Companion. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to run the whole show, and I'd be here the whole time, like trying to find settings rather than sort of stepping through and talking through it. But yeah, William says, got it very clear. Thank you for the information. Awesome. Glad you got that. Legend Nerd Be Heard says, that's a lot of companion buttons. It is. So I'll show you how I did let me switch over here to this one. So what I've got, this is my control panel, as I was saying before, that I'm sort of switching the show with. But I can also on, let's just go to SuperSource. I can also do that on the Mac screen. So let's just take a look at that. This is basically this is like the phone interface on the web browser. So just hide that one. And what happens is, so this is my normal profile that I would normally have connected to a Stream Deck, and the Stream Deck XLs are 8 across by 4 down. So that's this button here, 8 there by 4 down. So what you're seeing here with these sort of black buttons, like that's just sort of more canvas that doesn't end up on the screen. But then what I've done is basically taken the vertical one, like that sort of Stream Deck thing, and I've rotated the buttons clockwise, I think it was. And so then that top row of buttons has ended up on the right side of the screen, and I'm sort of building back that way. And when you rotate the canvas like that, each of the buttons rotates individually as well. So that's where on this one, you'll see that my PTZ control buttons on the right side there look weird from that layout, but I've put them in that layout because once it ends up on my control panel, it's a bit more of a keypad, kind of up, down, left, right to, where are we? To control like that. Let's just go back to my shot here. So that's how I've sort of put that together. And then on surfaces, this is where I have all of, so my Stream Decks are all offline because they're back in the studio in New York and I didn't want to travel with them. But just running the phone, you can create different emulators. So you would just go add emulator here. And I've got 2 that I'm using in the studio. You'll often see me with the iPad, and so that's its own surface as I sort of step through buttons on that iPad surface. That's separate to what I'm doing on the iPhone. And then the iPhone here, I've called iPhone. If I go to settings, I've got it as a standalone, so it's not actually part of a group. It's sort of its own surface. I'm using the last page at startup, so wherever I leave it is where next time I boot up, it'll be on that sort of surface again. And then I'm just determining the rows and the columns that I want to use. So normally, if you plug in a Stream Deck XL, that would be 4 rows, 4 down by 8 across. And what I've got here is, if we go up there, I've got 8 rows. So 8 rows going down, and I've got 5 columns sort of working backwards like that. And the horizontal offset in the grid is 0, 0, meaning that my start button of that array is going to be that first, on this side, that first home button that would normally be in the top left. Now that's in the top right. And the reason it's rotated is because I have rotated the whole screen here. So you can see at the moment it's like that, but if I went this way, it would switch like that. And if I went 180, it would kind of be sort of upside down. And if I went normal, then it would be like that. So I've got on counterclockwise, I guess, is how I put it together. And that's it. That's all we need to do that. And then I can sort of bring my Stream Deck on the road. And as I was saying before, the advantage of that is I can run my whole show. Where are we? Over, let me go back to my queue page here. All of these buttons, setting up cameras, hiding graphics, starting music, muting microphones and unmuting them, triggering different chapters, is how we sort of get through that. And now I realize that I didn't actually do my part 3 button, which is Q&A. I think we're already in the Q&A. We're already chatting. So if you have any more questions before we wrap up here, let me just refresh this page here. Oh, it's like, I like using the real-time version of this because then I can see where we are, but I think that's it. But yeah, everything has been, it's been a good, I've had about a week so far in Lisbon, and next week we're going down to the sort of south coast region for some beach time. So if I have the time, I will put together another live stream in there. But that seems to be all the questions for now. So thanks for, and then baby's coming home. So I should wrap up, and we'll say goodbye. Thank you for thank you for joining the stream. Hope that was the first look at the OBSBOT camera, and I shall see you next week from the beach. Hopefully, have a good summer. All right, take care. Bye.